Good morning. As I told you before, I'm having some headspace problems with my build that I did for my '94 Winchester. Um, I was told by my gunsmith that the chamber is a short chamber, and what that means for headspace is that there's not enough room for the when the round goes in for it to fit inside there properly. So when you are trying to chamber it, the bolt comes up and it slams up against it, and it causes problems. One of the ways we can tell is if you look at you probably can't see it, but on my dummy round, can't see because I have too. On the dummy round, down along the shoulder, it's kind of rounded and kind of misformed. And the reason is because it's every time I close that chamber on the bolt on the chamber, it's slamming that round up against the shoulder of on the inside of the chamber. So what I'm going to do is eventually I'm going to have to ream it. Okay, that there's no way around that. I'm going to have to ream it and but what I want to do is I want to find out maybe about how much I'm going to have to do that. And since there's nothing really going on right now, I'm going to do a casting of the chamber. It sounds a lot more complicated than it really is. I mean, I can do it. So uh, one of the things that we're going to need to have is the rifle. The rifle's been cleaned. You have to make sure that the chamber is spotless, or else you'll never get this thing out of your chamber when the time comes. Get some rem oil to help things work the way they're supposed to. I've got a cleaning rod. You have to use a stiff cleaning rod because you're going to have to push this thing out of the chamber when it's cooled off. You have a patch. The patch goes up inside the barrel itself and forms a barrier to keep the stuff from running down into the barrel. I'll show you how that works. I've got some Cerakote and Cerasafe. I'm sorry, Cerasafe. And what this is it's a soft metal. You buy it at Brownells, and what it melts at a pretty low point, and it actually once you put it inside the gun, it'll harden up real quick. So you can do that. To heat it up, I use a blowtorch. You want to make sure that when you heat it, you don't put it directly on it because it can cause some problems to the metal if you get it too hot. My mittens. I've got some wood, and I'll show you how I use the wood in the vise to hold the barrel of the gun itself. And let's see what. Oh, most importantly, so my wife can sleep, is I have my trusty fire extinguisher. I don't do anything with the torch without a fire extinguisher. It's I know how I am, and that can cause problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the barrel up. So what you do is you go through, I do, and you get an idea about how long you are going to be till you get to the chamber. So then I hold my hand on it. You could put a piece of tape, I guess, or whatever you want to do. Then I put this down inside. Okay. You look down inside and see where it's at. Get the flashlight. Let's see. Okay. It's just on the other side of the chamber, which is where you want it to be. If it's a little bit further down the barrel, it's not really a problem. So what I do is I take and I sandwich the barrel. Open it up a little bit more. Now you want to make sure that this is as level as possible. And you can see how that is. I think we're about ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat things up a little bit. Now, it's not going to take a whole lot to heat this stuff up. Usually just heating the outside of the can will be enough. It's already starting to melt. So this is also useful. This is useful to see the size of the chamber, but it's also useful if you have a gun and you're not sure exactly what caliber it is. Because sometimes, like for me, I get old guns, and you want to try to figure out what it is. I got a Spear carbine, and everybody kept telling me, that it was a 8x56, 8x56, but the 8x56 wasn't fitting inside of it. And what I ended up doing was I did a chamber casting, and I found out that it was in fact an 8x50. Uh, the After World War I, a lot of the Spear carbines were converted over to a larger round, but mine was not. And there's a whole story. I don't think I've done. Maybe I have done the Spear already. But this is going to just take a little bit because I try to do it slow. I don't want to do it real fast. So as we get close, one thing I want to do is I want to heat up the chamber. Now you don't want to heat the chamber up too much. You just want it really just warm to the touch. That'll help the stuff settle in. Okay, just about there. This is a very useful tool. The thing is, it'll cling to the inside of your chamber if there's any dirt. So if your chamber is not impeccable, then you're gonna have trouble getting it out. Okay, we're just about there. I'm gonna heat this up one more time. I'm gonna spray a bunch of rim oil down inside. The rim oil will help lube it up. Okay. I'm not putting the heat directly on top of the metal. I'm putting the heat more on the sides of the can. You can get yourself one of those ladles and whatever, but this works just as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it and I'm going to pour it down inside the chamber. I guess you can't really see it from here. Okay. I'll show you here, and after it cools a little bit, I'll be able to pick it up and show you. Got just a tad overflow. I don't think it really will matter. Okay, it's already getting hard. That's what she said. No, that's okay. So we'll give that a couple of minutes to cool off, and then and then I'll be back. Usually it takes, just about 5 minutes or so to cool off. You don't want to leave it in there for too long. If you leave it in there for more than like a half hour or so, then then you will really have trouble getting it out. What happens is the metal, when it starts cooling, like metal should, it shrinks, and when it shrinks, it makes it easier to come back out. If you leave it back in there, it'll adhere to the sides of the chamber, and you have trouble getting it out. And I've done that, and the only way to get it back out is to melt it out, and that's just a pain in the butt. Okay, we're just gonna let this go, and I'll be back. Well, this has never happened before, obviously, but what happened was I took the barrel and I turned it upside down, and this thing fell out. So that's perfect because sometimes you really have to pound on it pretty hard. So there's the casting, and you can see it goes up. There's the shoulder, and there's the end of where the casing would be. So we have this extra on here, and this is the plug we put in. So I'm going to move things around and so I can sit down, and we're going to do a measurement and see what the measurement is. That went, that went pretty quick and pretty easy, but they don't always go that easy. I've been out there pounding away with a hammer to get these things to come out. I think the secret to this one was the clean barrel, because I really scrubbed the hell out of it yesterday. And the clean barrel and the fact that I used a lot of oil. Okay. Okay, the numbers are in. And once again, we're dealing with headspace, which seems to be my least favorite subject to deal with. But with these old guys, you have to worry about headspace. Well, I measured my casting, measured from right there down to the top here because it's a rimless, so down to the top here. And I compared it to, first of all, I compared it to the actual round itself, the 32 Winchester Special. And I found out that the Winchester Special is 10 thousandths of an inch longer than my chamber is. So I said, well, that's probably not very scientific, whatever, because it's hard to measure anyway. There's that little line, but when you're talking thousandths of an inch. So I went to SAMI, which stands for the Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturing Institute. They're the standard. They're the standard for rifles. There's for the chambers, the barrels, the ammo. They set the rules for that sort of thing. And there's diagrams of all the different barrels and ammunition and everything else that you want to see. Which, if you're reloading, that's an important thing. And if you're dealing with old guns like mine, I guess it's important too. So I took their measurement, and they measure things in the hole. They have the chamber, the rim, of the cartridge, which is 0.063, and then they also put the maximum amount of headspace on there, which is also 0.063, I believe. So I took that number and I subtracted all that out to try to get the actual depth of the chamber itself, and the chamber itself was came out to be 1.3234. That's how exact it is. And my chamber is 1.3160, which means that there's a deficit of 7.5 thousandths of an inch. So my chamber is shallow by 7.5 thousandths of an inch, and that's what's causing the problem. And that's significant. I mean, that is significant. So although all these numbers and everything else are important, one of the things that we're going to have to do is deal with the go no goes, and we'll do is get a go on there, and we'll run it, and well, we'll do the reaming, and I'll do that online also, and give people an idea what reaming's all about. And, but it's been you can see I don't know if you can see all the math numbers that they're there, trying to figure this stuff out, and I'm sure that if you do it all the time, that's easy to figure out, but it took me a while to do that. So, well, so that's where we stand with this, with the 94. I got to get a no-go, and I have to get a 32. Actually, I think I can use the 30 reamer, and I got to ream it out about at least around 7 thousandths of an inch, maybe a little bit more. So, okay, well, thank you. It's been fun.